I wanted to start this talk with a story that I heard from a fellow TED Talker. Let me see if you can guess who I am talking about in this story. It is a cold January day, and a 43-year-old man is about to become the leader of a nation. This nation was led by his predecessor, who 15 years earlier saw the command of his country's armies in a war that resulted in the defeat of Nazi Germany. The person who's now about to be sworn into office was a hero in that war. He was decorated for his services. This person was raised a Roman Catholic, very charismatic, very loved by the people, gave wonderful speeches, and people lingered off of every word that he said. So much so that this country thought that he was going to lead them into the future. And after he was sworn in, he partied until 3 o'clock in the morning. You know who I'm talking about, right? Well, it's January 30th, 1933, and the person I am describing is Adolf Hitler, not JFK. Shocking, isn't it? I know. A lot of you would have said JFK for many reasons. First of all, everyone in this class, I believe, is an American citizen, and most of you do live in the state of Massachusetts, JFK's hometown. The one reason why you did not believe it was Adolf Hitler was because the date was not brought about before. And we were more likely to associate those details with JFK, not with Adolf Hitler. But why did you have those assumptions? Why were they so important in me telling the story? Well, the first thing you need to understand is A, never make assumptions. Because as the famous writer Jerry Belson always said, never make assumptions because they make an ass of you and me. But the reason why I like this story, and it was brought to me by fellow TED Talker Simon Sinek, who's also a world-renowned author, is because assumptions are not just fun little party quirks that you can do, as I just did. Assumptions are also known as preconceived notions, and they are made for decisions that we make in our everyday lives, whether on the small scale, such as, which coffee from Dunkin' Donuts am I going to drink, to things like, I'm going to vote for this candidate for president because A, B, and C. Now, obviously, we do it all the time. Everybody does it. We're only human. We're not perfect. But why do we have them? Especially now in the 21st century, where we have all sorts of information at our fingertips in our phones, our very own little computers that can tell us whatever we want, whenever we want, and any topic we can cover. Well, there's a few reasons. The first is that as much as we've evolved as a species, human beings are still going with the same brains that our ancestors used when they were hunting mammoths on the Serengeti. We can only learn so much, and we can only take what is in front of us at that time. And with so much data, as we have just mentioned, it is easier for us to compact them based on our own personal experiences and life. The very first years that you are born and that you are raised will shape how you see the world and how you see people. It's just a matter of fact. Who raised you, where you were raised, what time you were raised, who your friends were, where you went to school. These all will give you the preconceived notions that you have in your mind until the day that you die. Why are these important, though? I mean, just a mistake, right? People make them. What's the danger in it? Well, it turns out there's a lot. As I said before, we make assumptions because it's easier for us to do, but we use them for decisions that can be very, very important. In business specifically, as we've learned, people make preconceived notions all the time. Oh, this company made X amount of dollars this year because of A, B, and C. If I do the same thing, I will be successful. If this company was able to invest in this company and were able to get this return on investment, then I should do the same thing. Why not? Well, the devil is in the details. Details describe everything. For example, a company like Apple and the iPod and Microsoft and Zune. Zune wanted to compete with Apple and make a MP3 player. And they did. It was the Zune. They made it. Made a couple million. But then after a few years, they decided to quit it because sales were not doing well. And now I have iTunes on my phone. Hundreds of thousands of songs are still provided to people every single day by Apple, but why not Microsoft? They're more than able to do it. It's because they made an assumption of how Apple worked. They didn't take into account that Apple actually believed that this was something that was going to revolutionize the world and revolutionize music. They just wanted to be rich. And they weren't willing to go deeper into the reasons why it was made the way it is. And even worse than that, there have been times where we've made preconceived notions and it's had disastrous results. Take the housing crisis from 2007 to 2008. This was years, 10, 20-something years in the making, where everyone believed, oh, I don't make this amount of money, but because the interest rates are low, and they'll stay low forever, I'm going to be able to buy a house that I've always wanted. Doesn't matter if I have enough income. That doesn't matter. The interest rates will be low, and everybody else is doing it, so this is great. Interest rates went up. Hundreds of thousands of people lost their homes and were kicked out on the street. And the people that designed the system, of course, never went to jail. They just continued to make money. This is the danger of making assumptions, because you're going to risk things. Because you want to be right, and you are so willing to be right, you will ignore any signs or any criticisms of what you believe. And it's hard. As I said, this is years in the making of how you grow up and how you learn. But it's important to do and know that you have to fight these things. And how do we do this? How do we do such things? The first thing is obvious. Ask questions. Ask questions. The more questions you ask, the more you are going to learn. The more details will become known to you. And the more applicable it can become to people that you are trying to influence and trying to tell about your story and what you're learning. If you didn't ask questions, if you didn't learn anything new, you're going to continue to go off of what you know, which is something that you probably don't, and which is probably wrong. Another thing that you can do is play devil's advocate. In this case, this is asking questions even when someone else in a group that you've decided to be a part of or are a part of continues to go with one simple thing. And that creates groupthink. Groupthink is the idea in a group where one decision is made, it's popular, everyone decides to go with it, and if there is any sort of dissent from somebody else in the minority group, then that is silenced and is never brought up again. This happened with the Challenger explosion. We built a rocket that was supposed to go into space. We thought it was ready. Someone said no, but we wanted it